Alrighty, folks, the magic, it really felt great for 24 hours, but I emphasized in yesterday's game that all good things can come to an end just in a 24-hour span. And that was the case from the Mets today. I actually see from my podcast for the Rangers earlier. Let me take this down. Not that it isn't a Rangers fan cave, but we're talking baseball. Regardless, guys, we have a lot to deep dive on tonight's 4-1 loss. The Mets go from winning 4-1 yesterday in what was a massive outing from Mad Max Scherzer, and the Mets getting crucial runs when needed, to today, in my opinion, having some stellar pitching from David Pearson that unfortunately, because of a completely blown call there that we saw later in this one, would be his demise in the 6th inning. And the Mets, unfortunately, when they lost the lead, could never tack on. The offense wasn't there tonight, folks. When you leave 8 on base and not able to drive in more than a run, other than Francisco Lindor, naturally that's going to lead to an L. So a big rubber match will be tomorrow, Bassett versus Morton. But we got a lot to talk about from tonight's game, guys. No, this is not a sky is falling type show or anything of that nature, but it definitely is a sad loss. I would say that much. Definitely a loss where you look at the matchup, David Pearson versus Spencer Strider. I said it yesterday, guys. In case you're not aware, everybody, the Mets and the Braves totaled 21 strikeouts yesterday, and I didn't expect today to be much different. And when we look at the Mets side of things, the Mets in total today struck out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. The Braves struck out today 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So over more strikeouts even than yesterday. A lot of swing and miss from both of these teams. Strider has some nasty stuff. His pitch count got worked a little bit, but that fastball slider combo was simply brilliant. And I loved what I saw from David Pearson today too. It was a pitcher's duel, and in the end, unfortunately for us Mets fans, the Braves came out victorious. But again, a lot of deep dive on this game. I'll talk about some positives, which was led by David Pearson, in my opinion, along with the negatives, which was led by this abysmal offense. But more than anything, guys, thank you all so much for being in here. I really, really do appreciate you guys. Please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button as your first chime in the show, as we're deep diving everything that you need to know. My initial reaction was 4-1 Game 2 loss the Mets faced against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. After I deep dive everything that I want to share about today's game, guys, I'll start to answer some comments, questions, and concerns, and then that'll wrap up tonight's show. But I guess my first initial reaction to everybody here in the live chat right now, folks, is how are you feeling? That's the biggest thing. Again, this loss definitely wasn't fun. The offense definitely wasn't pretty by any stretch, but this was a game where you look at now how Game 3 is matching up, and I really think this has potential and somewhat similarity that we saw with the pitchers today, and even to a degree yesterday until Fried was out of the game. I mean, Fried didn't have his stuff yesterday, even though if he did, it would have been more of a pitcher's duel. The pitchers may match up again tomorrow between Bassett and Morton, so it may come down to bullpens, and the bullpen was, in fact, an issue for the Mets again tonight. It sucks, but it is what it is. Again, bullpen help cannot come soon enough. I emphasize that the Mets have shown recent interest in David Robertson for a reason from the Chicago Cubs, and we'll be doing a bullpen video here on the channel hopefully sometime this week if possible, depending on the schedule. I've been wanting to get that out for you guys. But yeah, what's everyone's initial reaction to tonight's loss? I think that's the first thing I want to know from everybody, guys, because this was, again, a loss where it is what it is. I'm not hanging my head too low. The upside is that regardless on how this series wraps up, the Mets will stay first in the division. Not that it means too much at this juncture in the season, but it definitely doesn't hurt to stay in first. The Mets are a game and a half up now on the Braves. They've been seesawing up and down and up and down. And then after this Braves matchup, they have a 4-game set in Chicago, which will be crucial for this Mets team to take full advantage of once they get to that point. But guys, let's talk about that and appreciate all my Braves fans that are coming in respectful here in the chat. I really do appreciate that. He says, peacefully say that Swanson should have struck out on that walk before Olsen homer. Thank you so much. And again, there's a lot of Braves fans out there that are toxic on Twitter, as are Mets fans. Mets fans can be absolutely brutal. There's more toxic with their own fan base versus opposing fan bases, albeit that. But regardless, something that I saw early on in this game, and while it was true to a degree, was that the Mets were getting a lot of calls early in this one. And I'm not going to disagree. The call on RC as well for the Braves, that was a strikeout. That was a call that shouldn't have been the case. I mean, there are multiple calls that won the Mets' way with a little bit of expanded strike zone. But my goodness gracious, as we got to that call there in the 6th inning, Dansby Swanson, what was a sure strikeout on a slider, beautifully placed up top, right corner there, or left corner if you're from Pierce's vantage point. on Swanson. They call it a clear ball. That leads to a walk, and then he's pressing against Matt Olson, and Olson does what he has done best plenty throughout his career and takes him deep on a 94 heater. The last pitch Peterson would throw this year. Again, it was down the middle, but a little up high, and you saw there Olson with that beautiful swing that can really stretch things out, being like 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is. He got all that one dead center, and that was the demise of the Mets in this one, and they were unfortunately never able to bounce back from that. But let's get into the game, folks. Let's talk about what happened, what led to this point, because again, Mets had some opportunities, guys, and they just didn't execute enough. It was as simple as that. And I agree. Again, Mets fans, Braves fans, they all have their troll fans. I agree. I will say that Braves fans have been relentless in trying to target Mets fans so far this year, which I find hilarious. It shows you how insecure that they have been about their own team so far this year, thinking that they have to have the Mets live rent-free in their head. If you're so confident about the Braves doing well and winning the division this year, I would recommend not talking much, because when you talk, it kind of shows that, yeah, it's the opposite, that they're living rent-free in your head, that you are actually concerned, that you think that how is this happening? You're stressing out about it. The Braves fans I respect are the ones that haven't talked as much, but rather feel comfortable with their team, as they should. Yesterday, one of the biggest strikeout swing and miss teams in baseball that we saw again tonight, 100%. But when they make contact, they hit that ball far. That's why they lead the NL in home runs for a reason. But enough of me talking about the Twitter antics right now, guys. Let's talk about this Mets game a little bit. Because the Mets, to start off, they had a runner on the first inning against Spencer Strider. Strider, what a stud this guy is. I have to give tip of the cap. Again, the Mets thankfully only faced him for 4.2 innings tonight because he had 103 pitches. But Strider's nasty. He had 8 strikeouts in those not even 5 innings. The Mets got him out of the game early, but the bullpen that's been ranked the best in baseball per Fangraphs right now, the Mets weren't able to do enough with. However, Canna gets on with an infield single there in the first inning. Nothing happens. Then the bottom of the first, Ronald Acuna strikes out. Matt Olson strikes out. Dansby Swanson gets a walk, his first of 2 tonight. One of them should have happened, not the other. Austin Riley gets a single, because of course he does. He always hits well against the Mets. But then Ozuna strikes out. So 3 strikeouts already in the first inning is what we saw with David Pearson tonight. What a stud he was. I cannot rave enough about David Pearson. I thought his start was pretty much phenomenal, outside of him not going deeper than 5.1 tonight. But really, he's not the reason why the Mets lost tonight. The Mets' lack of offense is the reason why they lost tonight, folks. However, we advance forward. Patrick Mazeika's first start back in like 40 days or so, back with the Mets with James McCann's injury. Love Mazeika magic. I do not want that man, however, starting much at all. I need the Mets to do something at that catching position, as we emphasized in our podcast yesterday on the channel, Bleav in Queens. Make sure to check it out, folks. Mazeika, however, because of course he does, gets himself a deep single, pulls that bad boy there to right field. However, the Mets are not able to do anything more beyond that. We advance forward, folks, to the bottom of the third, and you see Harris with a strikeout, Acuna with a walk. Nimmo makes a beautiful catch, robbing, well, I shouldn't say rob, but just fell short of a dead center home run there for the Braves. Beautiful catch. Nimmo, again, is in the 90th plus percentile and outs above averages here. What to say Nimmo has made major strides in his defense, is that you saw here in the highlights for the past couple of years, is truly an understatement. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Nimmo. However, the Braves, they would get out of that inning where they would not score any runs. Another scoreless inning there for Pearson. Then in the fourth, folks, this is where the Mets are trying to tack on more. You see Gourmet gets himself a single. Eduardo Escobar gets himself a double. The Mets have runners on second and third with 2 outs. And unfortunately, Travis Jankowski, who barreled the ball well, the defensive alignment, that shift bit him right in the ass. It goes right there to center. Normally where there's a gap, there was a shift on him, goes to second base, and that ends the inning where the Braves get out of it unscathed. The bottom of the seventh, bottom of the fourth, I should say, another strikeout was the case there for David Pearson on Marcell Ozuna, the second time tonight. In the fifth inning, Brandon Nimmo gets a walk, takes second base with a wild pitch, folks. And then after that, Francisco Lindor is what happens. And Lindor, who again only had 1 hit tonight, I have to give massive credit to Francisco Lindor, guys. He went 3 for 5 yesterday. He's one of those few bright spots in this Mets offense right now for a guy that definitely has been up and down and consistent this year when looking at average OPS. But as I tweeted, and I will emphasize it again, folks, I can give 2 effing you-know-whats about Francisco Lindor batting .250, maybe having a sub 800 OPS this year, as long as he steps up in the matchups that the Mets need him to step up to. He proved that last year in key matchups, especially in the biggest ones of them all that we saw in the Subway Series down the stretch, among some others. If Lindor just continues to step up against these crucial NL East rivals in the Braves, in the Phillies, etc., while also doing it in other big moments down the stretch and hopefully in the playoffs, that's all I want for a guy that's currently on pace for 30 bombs, 100 RBIs. So shout out Francisco. Beautiful RBI triple and it was a triple. It wasn't an error there that you saw in right field, deep right field by Ronald Acuna Jr. because he misread the play, did not touch the ball with his glove. And because of that reason, Lindor gets the third with ease. Huge RBI triple to give the Mets the lead there at that juncture. 1-0 is where we stand. However, it would not last because in the sixth, as I reiterate, I'll say it once more, you see here Dansby Swanson with a walk, which it was complete bullshit. Should not have happened. Apologize for the profanity, guys. It's going to happen, especially after a loss like tonight. But you see there that slider, clear strike that they called ball. Then Olsen takes one deep, and that'll do her for the day when looking at the likes of David Pearson. Ends with 5.1 strong. 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 9 Ks, 9 strikeouts, folks. I betted the over today, and boy, oh boy, did that pay out. 3.48 year rate is on the year now for David Pearson, but he has quickly, in my opinion, deserved to stay in this Mets rotation, has really blown the socks off. This is David Pearson now with 3 straight starts, folks. 5 straight starts for David Pearson with a minimum of 7 strikeouts, pitching really strong. Even when he didn't go deep in his last outing in Cincinnati, coming back from the paternity list, he still kept the Mets in it. And again, love what I saw from Pearson tonight. Was a huge saving grace for this Mets team. Unfortunately, their offense could not prevail. Seth Lugo would then come in and get back-to-back strikeouts. And I was feeling good about Lugo. I was like, okay, finally, Lugo shutting down the door there in the inning. Love to see that. However, that would only last so long because in the 7th, Seth Lugo walks the batter or gives up a base hit, one of the two. And then Adam Duvall back in the lab from being on the paternity list himself. He just had a kid. Everyone's popping babies. I guess it's baby season, folks. That's just the deal right now. No less Duvall with that new dad power gets himself a no-doubt bomb to left field, increases the lead double there for the Braves, going from 2-1 to now 4-1, and that would end up being your final score, folks. The Braves have scored all of their runs this series via the home run ball. That is why they're the best home run team in the NL. But just like that they are the best home run team, they have those awful similarities to the Philadelphia Phillies with being completely swing or miss. The ball goes boom, it's boom or bust. But the difference between a team like the Braves and the Phillies is that the Braves have on paper the best bullpen in baseball per Fangraphs right now, where the Phillies, while they've definitely been pitching better as of late, they still aren't nearly to the caliber pitching staff-wise that you see there in Atlanta. That is the biggest X factor. So Braves, while they've been big swing and miss, they are still taking a ball out of the ballpark a lot. And for a Mets team that has struggled with the home run ball this year, has struggled with consistencies with their at-bats the past month or so, this led to their demise tonight, and now they look hopefully to get this series W tomorrow in that 12:20 p.m. start. Chris Bassett versus Charlie Morton for the rubber match. It's going to be a key matchup between both these teams, guys, and I'm excited for it. But man, oh man, this was a game where I would have loved to see the Mets at minimum score a couple more runs than what we saw transpire tonight. I do know, however, that again, thankfully the Mets will come out victorious in the sense of they will not lose the divisional lead, even in the scenario where they lose tomorrow. But I really need to see this Mets team wake up tomorrow. They beat up on Charlie Morton the last time they saw him earlier this year in Citi Field. Chris Bassett had a solid outing against the Braves at Citi Field last time they matched up. Chris Bassett, however, on the road has an over 5-year rate, and Charlie Morton has been cooking it up as of late for the Braves over his last handful of starts. So what Chris Bassett are we going to get tomorrow for us Mets fans? And for the Braves' sake, is Charlie Morton going to be on his A game at home, or the Mets going to be able to tack on more than what they have against Max Fried and against Spencer Strider that we saw tonight? I don't know. And here's the thing for me personally, guys, before I start to answer your comments and cut things off for people on replay, this is a Mets team where even if you get the starter out of the game early that we saw with Fried yesterday and we saw today with Spencer Strider, I don't know how much of an upside it is, just because of the fact that, yes, it's going to wear down the bullpen for the Braves, but the Braves bullpen is legit. That has been one of their biggest moneymakers this year. Outside their hot offense, that bullpen has been absolutely star-studded for them. While they've had Kenley Jansen out for a good amount of time with injury, he's returning back in the bullpen tomorrow, so he very well could find himself on the bump against the Mets down the stretch in either a save or non-save situation. So It's going to be interesting, but I do know that this Mets team has proven that they can win without the likes of Starling Marte and Jeff McNeil. And this leads us to the question. Marte's out now for the remainder of the series. He's still day-to-day, but he feels he needs enough rest to not have him back until, at minimum, the Chicago Cubs series, right? When you look at Jeff McNeil, will he surprisingly return off the paternity list tomorrow? Will he be a surprise that we don't find out until we see the laps early tomorrow morning on the East Coast? I have no clue. I think if Jeff McNeil does return, I'm loving the Mets' chances of really trying to get the bats going. But if you don't have Jeff McNeil, then it's really going to be up to the likes of Pete Alonso, who struck out 3 times today, looking silly at the plate, who excelling in a couple of his at-bats against Fried yesterday, too. However, I will give him the credit. He got 2 RBIs. That was crucial in the Mets' 4-1 win yesterday. So absolutely tip the cap to that. However, these Mets bats, the guys, especially with Marte and McNeil being out, you need to step up to the plate. Lindor has proven that he's able to do that to a degree at least. Now let's see more of that again from Alonso. I want to see that tomorrow against Morton. I want to see the exact same thing with guys' depth in this lineup, okay? I know Eduardo Escobar has been struggling a lot. Eddie didn't have a terrible day at the plate, had himself a nice double. I want to see more of that. Luis Gourmet liked him in the 5-hole, but I'd like to see some more production. Brandon Nimmo has been pressing on the plate a little bit. Nimmo's been a lot more swing and miss over the past month than he has been a walk machine. And for Brandon, what's important for me as a fan of the Mets that's been following Brandon Nimmo, knowing he's known for being a roughly 400 on-base clip that's around 350 right now this year, I need his eye at the plate to be better. He looked absolutely stupid. And again, I don't mean this in a personal manner, but he looked silly against Colin McHugh later in this one that we saw. 3 straight sliders down and in, really not too close to the plate that Nimmo simply could not read well. I need to see Nimmo with some better at-bats, grinding out at-bats. He's done it plenty. Let's see it more. When you get that place setter on, and again, the Mets can score runs within the first 2 to 3 innings, I like their chances. But as you guys saw, the Mets did not score their first run of the game tonight, folks, until the 5th inning. History repeats itself. The Mets score early. They tend to score a little bit more often and lead to a victory. And in game 2s, no less, that has been one of their biggest kryptonites this season. So, big matchup tomorrow. Again, it's not a do or die in the sense of it'll make or break their season, but it's do or die in regards to who's going to win this series. And are the Mets going to build more of a lead here in the NL East, or are they going to be a half game up by time tomorrow's game ends? I don't know. But guys, let's get into your comments, questions, and concerns now, folks. I really do appreciate it. And everyone that's been chiming in the live show, watcher, and replay, make sure to let me know your thoughts down below on the Mets and their 4-1 loss tonight. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight's loss? Because for me personally, again, offense anemic, needs to be better. Sounds like a day that ends in Y. So inconsistent. David Pearson's my number 1 star for a reason. Lindor 1 for 4 with the RBI triple. That's my number 2 star when you have a lack of offense. Number 3 goes to my man Colin Holderman. Would have liked to see Holderman not pitch more than an inning tonight. I know it was just 1 more out, but still, Holderman, I could see him tomorrow utilized as well. Who knows how deep Bassett's going to go. Lugo, again, not stepping up to the plate. That's frustration in itself. Mets need to make some changes there. Holderman 1 for 1, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Love that from Colin. Escobar 1 for 3, actually gaining my top 5 for a change. There you go. But again, that's what happens when you have a lack of offense. And Gourmet 1 for 3. That'll do her. So guys, again, make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. People in the live stream, let's get those comments now. But for people on replay, this is where we're cutting things off.